We're going to be looking at the square root property for this particular video. In another video, I'll be looking at completing the square. And in another video, I'll also be looking at the distance formula. They are all interrelated. So, how do we solve a quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 if the trinomial ax squared plus bx plus c cannot be factored? Methods other than factoring are needed, and in this section and the next, we'll look at other ways of solving quadratic equations. First one is the square root property. If u is an algebraic expression and d is a positive real number, then u squared equals d has exactly two solutions. If u squared equals d, then u will equal square root of d, or u will equal a negative square root of d. Or, to put it all together, a plus or minus square root of d. So technically we're going to be taking the square root of both sides, and when we do that we have to remember this right here, the plus or minus, because I've got two possibilities. So in my first one, I've got x squared equals 49, so I'm going to take square root of both sides. Square root of x squared is x, plus or minus square root of 49 is 7. I could have factored this by bringing the 49 back over, but if you'll notice, this is very quick. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is get whatever my item squared is isolated. It was in the first one, but in this one it is not. I'm going to have to divide by 4. Because I've got to get the item squared isolated. Now I'm going to take square root of both sides. Remember the plus or minus. Square root of x squared is x. And since square root of 5 cannot be simplified, that is my answer. Let's look at some more. I see x squared here, so I need to isolate it. I'm going to add 5. I'm going to divide by 2. Now I can take square root of both sides. So I've got x is equal to plus or minus square root of 5 over square root of 2. But we learned in a previous section not to leave it like this. I have to rationalize the denominator. So when it's a monomial, you multiply by the square root of that value. So I end up with a plus or minus square root of 10 over 2. And that would be my answer. Now I kept saying item squared. Well, here my item is a binomial squared. So I'm going to take square root of both sides right now. It is isolated. Square root of that quantity squared is just that quantity. Square root of 16 is 4. I need to solve for x. So I've got 5 plus 4. That's my upper route, will give me 9. 5 minus 4 give me 1. So x equals 9 or x equals 1. Got another one similar to that one. Won't you pause me and you try this? My quantity is already isolated. Plus or minus square root of 5. Add 1. Always put it in front of the plus or minus. And since that's not a perfect square, that's my answer. Now listen, I've got x equals 1 plus or minus square root of 5. So I've got two answers on that one. This one, well, we have to isolate the item squared. So I'm going to divide by 3. Now I'm going to take square root of both sides. Well, now I need to solve for x. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And now I'm going to divide by 2. And that would be my final answer. So that's it for this particular video. You need to try some of these where you're doing the square root property. Thank you.